King Tommen walked into that room with armed guards, royal authority, and every reason to be furious.
You cut off her hair and marched her naked through the streets in front of the whole city.
But 3 minutes later, Tommen walks out as the High Sparrow's most useful weapon, and he has absolutely no idea. This scene is a masterclass in how manipulation actually works, not through force, but through promising people exactly what they need most. First, look at how Tommen enters. He comes in decisively, surrounded by Kingsguard, probably rehearsing in his head exactly how a king is supposed to sound. But notice something important. Even with armed men behind him, he still doesn't dare to interrupt the High Sparrow's prayer. Before anyone says a word, the power dynamic is already there.
Your Grace.
Soft, surprised, like a grandfather whose favorite kid just came for tea. Right away, he denies Tommen the confrontation he came for. You can't slam a door that is already being gently opened for you.
My mother would like to see her daughter's final resting place.
Tommen came here determined to stand up for his mother. But notice that even now, he makes it a request instead of a command. And this request doesn't even come from him. He does not dare to act on his own behalf. He has the crown, the guards, the title, but not the confidence to use them.
I'm sorry, Your Grace. That's not possible. Not yet.
Look at how carefully he phrases this. He apologizes. It's not possible, but he has nothing to do with it. It's just the circumstances. But the really important part is not yet. A flat no could create confrontation. Not yet is much smarter. It turns the conversation from "you can't" into "what do we need to do to make it happen?" And Tommen steps right into it.
When will it be possible?
The moment he asks when, he's already accepted the Sparrow's control over it. And here's the thing, Tommen isn't stupid. What he's doing is exactly what a reasonable person would do. That's what most of us would do. You state your demand. You listen to the response. You negotiate. That's the normal playbook. The High Sparrow knows this. That's what makes the High Sparrow so dangerous. He doesn't exploit stupidity. He exploits decency.
When she's fully atoned for her sins.
Look at what just happened. Sparrow rewrote the whole story. In his version, he's not even in it. Just Cersei's sins and the rules that have to be followed. But the really disturbing word here is fully, because it implies the Walk of Atonement somehow wasn't enough. Tommen immediately reacts to that.
Cut off her hair and marched her naked through the streets in front of the whole city.
He makes it specific. The hair, the nakedness, the whole city watching. He's saying, look at what was done to her. What else do you want?
That wasn't a full atonement.
No.
That single no completely destroys Tommen's argument. Sparrow doesn't hesitate and he doesn't soften it. Tommen just described one of the most humiliating punishments imaginable. And the High Sparrow treats it like a minor inconvenience. Still, not enough.
She must stand trial before 7 septons, so we can learn the true extent of her sins.
Notice how official this suddenly sounds. Trial, 7 septons. He makes the whole thing sound civilized and reasonable. But the really dangerous phrase is true extent, because now Sparrow is planting doubt in Tommen's mind. What other shady secrets is your mother hiding?
I want you to let her see Myrcella's resting place. I am the king.
Tommen has completely run out of arguments here, so he tries to use King's mode again. And immediately, you remember Tywin's line.
Any man who must say, I am the king, is no true king.
The moment a ruler has to verbally remind people he's king, something already went wrong. And look at where Tommen goes. Back to Myrcella. He came here as a king. Now he is a son and a brother, begging for basic decency.
I am the king.
You are.
This completely throws Tommen off balance. Look how confused he is. He expected Sparrow to say something like, the laws of the gods are higher than kings, which would have given Tommen something to argue against. But Sparrow doesn't do that. Sparrow accepts the title, but he ignores the authority behind it. He still says nothing about Myrcella.
And what does that mean to you?
Look how awkward that question sounds. Tommen only asks it because he completely lost momentum and had to say something.
It means a great deal to me.
You think Sparrow is being respectful here? Not really. He already figured out Tommen's 3 main weaknesses, and he's going to exploit all of them.
The crown and the faith are the twin pillars of the world.
This line is much more important than you may think, because this is the moment the scene changes. To someone like Tywin Lannister, this would sound like a threat. The Faith wants half the power. But Tommen hears something completely different, because Tommen is drowning under the weight of his crown.
Your brother is dead. Do you know what that means?
It means I'll become king.
His mother is screaming in one ear, his wife in the other, and his small council is a flock of vultures. Every decision feels dangerous, and Tommen is terrified of hurting people.
Give the order, and we'll clear out this rabble.
You mean kill them?
So when Sparrow says, "The crown and the faith are the twin pillars of the world," Tommen doesn't hear a power grab. He hears relief. He doesn't need to carry this alone anymore. The insecurity as king is Tommen's first weakness. That's what Sparrow addresses here. He just stopped holding his ground and started building an ally. Or worse, a puppet. Now Sparrow goes after another of Tommen's weaknesses, his mother.
Do you know who told me that? Your mother.
He uses Cersei's own words to legitimize everything he's saying.
The faith and the crown are the two pillars that hold up this world. One collapses, so does the other.
Because now Tommen can't just dismiss it if his own mother believes it too.
My mother who is unclean. My mother who still needs to atone after all you've put her through.
For a moment, Tommen pushes back. If his mother helped build this system, why did they destroy her? And now watch Sparrow carefully. He dismisses his guards. Why would he even bother? His two faith militants with wooden clubs against half a dozen fully armored Kingsguard. Come on. Yet by dismissing his men first, Sparrow creates an impossible choice. Keep your guards, and look like you're afraid of an unarmed old priest. So Tommen has to do the same. Sparrow did that to stay alone with Tommen. For his next move, he needs the conversation to stop being official and become private, even intimate. Then he closes the book. Small detail, but very important. He signals that Tommen is no longer an interruption. Now he has Sparrow's full attention. What the High Sparrow does next, most people completely misread it. They think it's a religious speech. It's not.
How do you think the mother above first came to us?
High Sparrow completely ignores Tommen's attack. He doesn't explain why Cersei is unclean. Instead, he shifts the conversation to an abstract riddle about the gods. This is exactly what cult leaders do. When faced with a direct accusation or question they don't want to respond to, they pivot to vague philosophy. If you enjoy breakdowns like this, please subscribe so you don't miss the next video. Thank you.
How did men and women first come to feel the mother's presence? It was through their own mothers.
If Tommen were Tywin Lannister, he would have interrupted right here and said, "I didn't come here for a sermon, old man. Let's get down to business." But Tommen doesn't want to fight. He wants peace, comfort, and answers. And Sparrow is going to give him all that.
There's a great deal of falsehood in Cersei, you know that.
Cersei is manipulative. Everyone in King's Landing knows it. Even Tommen knows it. And you can actually see Tommen preparing to defend her here. But Sparrow brings this up for one reason, to set up the next line.
But when she speaks of you, the mother's love outshines it all.
He separates Cersei the schemer from Cersei the mother.
Her love for you is more real than anything else in this world, because it doesn't come from this world.
This lands perfectly, because Tommen loves his mother, but he also knows she's capable of horrible things. Sparrow gives him a way to reconcile those two realities. He tells Tommen, "Your mother may be sinful, but her love for you is sacred."
But you know that. You've seen her when she talks to you.
Yes.
Of course he says yes. How can he deny his own mother's love? Did you notice that the conversation isn't even about Myrcella anymore? Tommen probably doesn't even realize that. Sparrow deliberately pulls the conversation away from politics, law, and power, and turns it into something emotional and personal. Because his goal is not to help Tommen. It's to reshape how he sees the world so he could later use it.
It's a great gift, one I never had.
Now he sounds like a lonely old man talking about the love he never received himself. Sparrow keeps exploiting Tommen's kindness and decency. Think about what this does to Tommen. He came in here angry and demanding. Now he feels guilty for even speaking harshly to this poor man. And this is where Sparrow goes for the final weakness, Tommen's guilt.
Envy. One more thing for me to atone for.
By openly admitting envy, he stops looking like some perfect religious authority standing above sinners and judging them. Suddenly, he places himself into the exact same category as Cersei. He is also a sinner, just like her. Of course, such a man cannot be responsible for what happened to her, and Sparrow is going to reinforce this impression.
Your Grace, may I? My knees.
Of course.
This is another very clever move. He is offering Tommen a microdose of the royal authority. It means absolutely nothing, but to Tommen, it feels like validation. He still respects that I am the king, but it's a total illusion. By blaming his knees, he is reinforcing the message that he is a harmless old man. He barely stands. How can he be a threat? This manipulation is very targeted. If the High Sparrow had complained about his knees to Joffrey, he would have mocked him and felt disgusted. Tywin would have seen it as a transparent play for sympathy. He would have remained entirely unmoved by the theater of bad knees. But Tommen is a simple and kind boy. When Tommen sees an old man in pain, he wants to help. And Sparrow understands that perfectly. He keeps turning Tommen's own kindness against him. But the next thing Sparrow does is even more important, because now he's about to completely rewrite what happened to Cersei.
When your mother made her walk of atonement, she did it to get back to you.
This is probably the most manipulative line in the entire scene, and it targets Tommen's last weakness, his guilt.
When they paraded her through the streets like a whore, what did I do?
Suddenly, Cersei made her walk, not because it was either this or rotting in a dungeon with no food and water. Now Sparrow reframes it as a sacrifice she willingly made out of love for Tommen. Cersei would be very surprised to hear that, but this completely changes how Tommen processes what happened. Up to this point, he feels guilty because he failed to protect his mother.
If I can't even protect my own wife or my own mother, what good am I?
Now, he didn't fail her. She chose this suffering because she loved him that much. By twisting the reality, Sparrow removes this burden from Tommen's shoulders. Once Tommen accepts this emotional framing, Sparrow basically has him.
I still don't understand why you want to put her through any more than she's already endured.
Look at how Tommen's language has changed. He still sounds angry, but he's no longer demanding anything. He's asking Sparrow to explain the world to him, and that means Sparrow already won most of the battle, because Tommen now treats him like someone with a deeper understanding of morality and justice.
It's not what I want. It's what the gods want.
It's almost funny how he shifts responsibility. It's always something else. Gods, circumstances, rules, Cersei's sins, anything but himself.
They make their will known to us, and it's up to us to either accept or reject it.
Sparrow makes it a simple black-white choice. Either you accept the will of the gods, or you stand against it. There is no middle ground where politics, compromise, or negotiation can exist. But for Tommen, who is tired from uncertainty and seeks simple answers, that is exactly what he needs. And Sparrow knows that. By the way, more experienced players would immediately challenge this logic. They would ask, and how exactly do the gods communicate all this to you? Especially, how did they tell they want Cersei marching naked through the streets while people throw excrement at her? Olenna did exactly that in her own conversation with him.
The gods demand justice.
How do they communicate their demands? By raven or horse?
And you know, he actually has the perfect answer.
By the holy text, the seven-pointed star.
All religious books are very vague and full of metaphors. A clever fanatic can twist, misinterpret, and manipulate those writings to justify absolutely anything, from peaceful charity to public torture. High Sparrow already used this approach. If you don't want to answer something directly, retreat into the vague philosophy. It won't work for someone more experienced, but for Tommen, it works just fine. At this point, Tommen isn't arguing anymore. He's listening.
Please.
Up to this point, they were standing apart like opponents. Now they're side by side, looking at the world from the same perspective. And for Tommen, that matters a lot more than it seems. For the first time in a long while, he feels support.
If we're to be just and good, then we accept it, all of us, even kings.
High Sparrow already pinpointed what Tommen wants the most. Tommen doesn't care about being feared like Joffrey or dominant like Tywin. He wants to be good.
What kind of king do you think you'll be?
A good king?
And Sparrow meticulously weaves the concept of faith into this wish.
A true leader avails himself of the wisest counsel he can, and no one is wiser than the gods.
Sparrow offers Tommen a solution to all his problems. He promises certainty, a system that tells Tommen what the right thing is, so he no longer has to guess. And notice how Sparrow speaks throughout this entire conversation, with a calm, soft, grandfatherly voice. Just listening to him feels comforting. Tommen wants to trust him, because after Tywin died, he desperately lacked a mentor figure.
My grandfather once said something similar, except for the part about the gods.
Tommen is flashing back to a conversation with Tywin next to Joffrey's corpse.
A wise young king listens to his counselors and heeds their advice until he comes of age.
Tywin was the ultimate authority figure in Tommen's world.
And the wisest kings continue to listen to them long afterwards.
So the moment Sparrow starts sounding similar to Tywin, his credibility skyrockets.
The gods work through him whether he knew it or not, as they work through your mother.
Sparrow immediately grabs onto the comparison with Tywin and adds gods to the equation. And this is the moment when everything finally locks into place for Tommen. Tywin believed this. Cersei supported it. And now the High Sparrow confirms it through the authority of the gods. Tommen finally feels like the world makes sense. He no longer feels like a frightened boy trying to hold together a collapsing kingdom by himself. Now he has something solid to lean on. He has a system, he has guidance, and most importantly, he no longer feels alone. And that's the terrifying part. Tommen genuinely believes he just found wisdom.
There's so much good in all of us. The best we can do is to help each other bring it out.
Look at Tommen's face at the end of the scene. He's close to tears. That is where a young and kind boy who was forced to be a king finally found answers to all his questions. This 3-minute scene is the origin story of Tommen the Fanatic. By the time the conversation ends, the High Sparrow hasn't just won a political argument. He has psychologically adopted the King of Westeros. But let's point something out. High Sparrow was not some universal mastermind manipulator. In fact, against most major players in Game of Thrones, this strategy would completely fail. It would be useless against narcissists like Cersei or Joffrey because of their complete lack of guilt. He tried to use it with Cersei, and we all know how that ended. It also wouldn't work on people like Tywin or Olenna. They instantly see through performative humility and religious theater.
A man of the people who does Cersei's dirty work for her.
The will of the gods means absolutely nothing to them. It wouldn't work on Ned Stark or Jon Snow either. They already have a rigid internal moral compass. You cannot manipulate someone through religion if they already know exactly what they should or should not do. But Tommen is different. Tommen has no stable political or moral foundation at all. Joffrey had this problem too, but he overcompensated for his insecurity with psychotic cruelty. Tommen overcompensated with paralyzing hesitation.
We'll find another way.
And during these 3 minutes, Sparrow offers him a simple formula. Follow the will of the gods. That's always the right thing to do. The most effective manipulation doesn't feel like an attack. It feels like relief. That's why this scene is so uncomfortable. Sparrow never threatens Tommen. He never even raises his voice. He just found what Tommen needed most and offered it at a price Tommen didn't even know he was paying. Most of us have had a conversation like this. We walked in angry, convinced we were right, and somehow walked out agreeing to something we never wanted. Do you think Tommen was manipulated here? Or was the High Sparrow simply the first person who gave him certainty and direction? Tell me what you think in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.